Hello and welcome to Premier Study in Investing. It's great to have you. Thanks for stopping by. Welcome back to Premier Study in Investing. I want to talk a little bit today about what to do after a layoff. That's the position I'm in right now, or being in between jobs, however you want to talk about it. But I think it also relates to people who are currently working, but realizing that either the promotions aren't going to be coming very quickly, or that you're kind of in a stagnant role, or maybe you're kind of in a role like a transitionary role that you took maybe in your mind. It doesn't really have the salary that you're looking for. Maybe it's not even in the same like sector or career path that you want to be on, but you took something in order to bring in some money until you could come up with something better. I think we've all been in that spot before, and it's just something that coming off a layoff back in November, I thought, well, this is a great time to actually like kind of reassess what you were doing before, if you want to make a small change, or maybe you want to make a very significant change. We've all seen some tech layoffs, even starting in 2023, but there's been even more layoffs. Salesforce, Microsoft, some of the big tech companies have definitely been reducing their workforce. We just had something come out from Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, right, or Meta now, saying that they're going to run like a more efficient, jargon, whatever corporate thing. But it meant that they were not going to be looking to hire a lot of new people. I personally think that from the data I've looked at, in the United States anyways, that a lot of the jobs numbers are pretty good, actually. Unemployment still remains to be fairly low. I think 3.7 or something in that range. But if you look at the data more granularly, it's a lot of public jobs. These are mostly government jobs being paid for taxes. We know we're in a budget deficit, but the tax revenues are not able to cover the expenditures, hence the deficit. And so I don't think that if you get past this election cycle, that they're going to continue to keep all these jobs. Quite honestly, I just don't think they're going to be able to continue to fund that many jobs. The private sector has not really been doing so hot as far as creating new jobs, as far as I can tell. So, like I said, great time to sort of reassess. So when I look at my own position, I've kind of thought, okay, I see a lot of jobs where I live for accountants, staff accountants, senior accountants, a lot of jobs where it's, coming in, doing the accruals, doing the closes, finding any adjustments, any mistakes, updating the general ledger, doing monthly close, doing quarterly close, year-end close, things like this. A little bit of tax maybe in there as well. Some of the other things I've noticed as I've looked through a lot of different job descriptions is the same kind of recurring themes come up. CRM, so this is customer resource management, something like Salesforce. So I think 2 videos ago, I talked about my experience getting the Salesforce associate credential, and that it really wasn't that hard. It made sense to me that you would want someone to come in and build that and how you could customize it for all your different sales teams. And that it would be nice, but also I've talked to recruiters recently and even people working in sales, and I've gotten responses like, well, it's kind of niche. Like, we don't use it. Or this guy said from church, he was like, well, I don't use it, but he's like, it's used. He just said it was niche. And then I was talking to a recruiter yesterday, and I was like, I could go down the Python path, or I could keep going deeper into the Salesforce stuff. What are you thinking? They're like, well, they mostly recruit accounting and finance folks. They're like, we don't have very much Python, honestly, requested from our clients. And they also said, on the Salesforce as well. So it's not like either were super high demand. So one thing that I have seen a lot of is Power BI and Tableau. I think that the missing piece for me, and what I consistently see on job descriptions, is you need to have the education to understand the theory and the fundamental aspects of how either data analytics works, as far as, I probably don't want to use that word, more like financial analysis or accounting processes, variance analysis, cost accounting as well. But like I said, this is not really my sweet spot. So equity analysis, these types of things, risk analysis, quantitative analysis. But then you also need the piece where you can make it presentable to clients or more like senior members, decision makers, etc. So then comes in the Power BI or the Tableau. You constantly see that. And I was thinking about this. I thought, this is really, if you get into that, you're really like positioning yourself to more be like in a strategy decision-making role. So an eventual like CFO, CEO type of role, because that's what you're doing. You're basically taking the data that's available and you're distilling it down or analyzing it or looking at it from different perspectives into actionable steps. Now, in the early days, you're not the one that's making the final decision, but you're basically doing the initial work to gather, clean, analyze, and present the key, let's say like key performance indicators, KPIs, we call them, that are really essential to our business. Key customers, threats, SWOT analysis. If you want to go back down to that road, back to college level business school. But I mean, that's really what you're doing. I thought, yeah, I don't know how the person that just learns like general ledger and like trial balances ever makes that jump over into like CFO and then to C-suite or into like a CEO type of role. So, I mean, I guess it's possible. You could go senior accountant, assistant controller, controller, maybe CFO. To get that high, you'd probably need to do the CPA though. So I thought this is sort of interesting because I don't really want to get CPA, but I've also found that the CFA is very hard. One of my friends from graduate school called me and he's like, yo, like we've been studying for 5 years. He's like, it's been a lot of personal sacrifice. He said he's past level 1 and level 2. He's on level 3 and he's considering taking a step back from it. That he failed level 3, so already knows some of the information. I couldn't believe he was saying this. He already knew some of the information, and he's deciding not to retake. And I just thought, man, that's so nuts. And one of his reasons was he said that for what he was doing, he didn't feel like that it was very applicable to his job. That it was more like letters, and you get the prestige, and maybe it will turn into possible promotion in the future because you demonstration that you can do high level difficult mental tasks and you have a deep understanding of how finance, economics, and things like this work. But he just didn't feel like it was very applicable, that he couldn't take what he was learning and really use it at his job. I was surprised that he said that, but I've also had some similar thoughts as far as like it was really hard for me to work and prepare for CFA level 2. And then I've really wondered, like, I've thought about living in the country. I've liked the idea of working remote, right? And that's one of the things I think is really attractive if you go down the data analytics role. It seems like some of the sweet spots for remote workers are highly quantitative tasks where it's just you and your computer anyway and you're emailing some reports in, maybe back and forth or dropping them into a shared Dropbox or something like that where other people kind of look at it and take it from there. So that type of like very non-human interaction type of analysis, obviously you have to have those skills to do that. But also data analytics seems to also fit in that role where you're kind of doing that, but it's not like computer engineering, I guess. It's not like programming. It's not like that difficult, I think. We're going to look here in a second at this course. It costs like $165 to take the test. It's from Microsoft Learning. I'm assuming it's a lot cheaper than Coursera, but it's on business analytics. Before I talk about that, I think the other thing that is really a great opportunity for remote workers is going into HR, being a recruiter. I mean, you guys see those people, right? They have a CPA, and what are they doing? They're recruiting. Why do they do that? Maybe they didn't like CPA work. Maybe it was the tax season was awful. Maybe they can make close to, or I don't know, maybe better money. I really think that the whole HR recruiting world is quite, perhaps somewhat unnecessary, but obviously people go into it. Like this recruiter I was talking to yesterday did MBA somewhere in California, went to work for IBM, right? What are they doing now? Recruiting for accounting and finance jobs. Why are they doing that? I don't know. I'm assuming that it's either similar pay and easier, or work from home, or they got tired of the corporate grind, or, I mean, I don't know. But it just seems like that remote work piece is so huge because I had this friend, his name's Jim. He bought some land in Florida and he has this kind of idea. He always gets like a little bit nervous that people are going to think he's odd. But what he is thinking is he'd love to have a lot of people like kind of live sort of like in some community aspect. He always thinks that the big downfall of American society is the suburbs, that you're really disconnected and you very infrequently see your friends. You very infrequently have a dinner with another family, right? I mean, when was the last time your family went over to some other family and just sat down and had church? And I'm saying not like in your family or your spouse's family, but just with your friends. Like people never do that in our culture. I think it's really weird after living in the Middle East, but that's one of the benefits of living abroad. Anyway, I think one of the key things that maybe isn't so well thought of, maybe among corporates, but if you can find remote work and be able to see some of those really important people to you that may now live in other cities. So wouldn't it be fun? Like I have a really good friend in Denver. Wouldn't it be nice to go out there? Especially if they have like a bad thing happen, a tragedy, a health incident, something like this, where you can go out and you can actually continue to do your job, work remotely, and be there with your friend, right? Be there with your friend, help them through a tough time, or just see him once in a while, where it's not like 5 or 10 years goes by before you actually see these important people in your life, right? I mean, um, I guess you can take time off with your PTO, but it just seems like people don't do that for whatever reason. It seems like people spend all their PTO doing like random tasks that they can't get to, little emergency things, little sick days. Kids get sick, kids need to go to the doctor, and then some holiday travel, and then maybe they do a family trip. But they never really see like friends and family, or friends. I guess is the point I'm making. So I thought that is a huge. I don't know what that's worth in dollars, but I think it's really interesting. So let's look at really quick at this Power BI search. Oh, hey, by the way, I just took this assessment. Some company wanted me to do this predictive index, and I've done it before, and I've had to do it like multiple times. But what I learned this time is that I thought the questions, like the quant and the shapes and like the logic or the verbal questions, were like really fun. But if you want to totally knock that assessment out of the park, just Google it on YouTube. There's this guy, he's like, he has an African accent, and he walks you through like just all the questions, like a whole bunch of the questions. And a lot of them are actually still the same. So if you come across a predictive index and you get that email from a recruiter or a company, just go and spend 45 minutes, going through his videos. And like it's still fun, but it's even funner if you just already know like what's coming and exactly how they kind of structure these or especially their shapes, the shape questions. Okay, so check this out. Here it is. So become Power BI data analyst, and they give you, it's 2 modules, hour 15 minutes, 2 modules, 3 hours 47 minutes, 4 modules, 2 hours 20 minutes. So say like say 5, say 7.5 hours. It's like kind of one work day, and you can get this certification. You do then need to go over to this exam. So this is the Power BI Data Analyst Associate cert, and you go through the course, and then they have the exam here at the bottom. PL300 Microsoft BI Data Analyst exam, $165, which when I saw this before, it was like 99. Now it's 165, so inflation. And then I thought, man, this is kind of lame because I've done these before in the past, SQL and stuff like this, and it just seems like no one cares. But at the same time, it is nice when people ask you, like, do you know these softwares? Do you know how to do this? To be like, yeah, I spent, 7 hours. I don't think spending. Okay, so even though I'm not like super excited about paying $165 to Microsoft to go into some testing center, and I'm a little bit struggling today. It's like Saturday. I don't want to really sit down and go through a bunch of modules from Microsoft, but I do think I'm going to do it. This, on the other hand, is another option which I don't think is preferable. It's from Coursera. Good thing it is still offered by Microsoft, and so you do have instructors from Microsoft. I'm sure it's going to be very good. 83,000 people have taken it. What you'll learn, and it's some of the same things, but let me scroll down here, and they'll save you, half of the PL300. So it's the same exam that we were looking at before, the PL300. So you'll save, $82.50 on the exam. But it's 8 courses, and if you add all these up, this is 18 hours, 19 hours, 20 hours, 26 hours, 29 hours. You get to the end after you do the prep, and it's 175 hours. That's like 21 Saturdays. It's going to be like 21. I mean, it's going to be like half your year just not doing anything on Saturday except doing this all day. I mean, that's kind of a lot. And I don't even know what it costs, but for me, it's like, it's already not interesting. Okay, so they want me to start this free trial. And so Coursera, I guess now the way it works is it's $50 a month. So it's a subscription model instead of a one-time fee. So like I said, 6 months of Saturdays, it's going to cost you, $300 then to go through this course. But man, 6 Saturdays, like holy smokes. So my thought is, if this is anything like the Salesforce cert, dude, it's like great training, but when you get to the test, it's super easy. I don't know. Salesforce was. I don't know about this one. I guess we'd have to find out. If you took this, let us know. Was this what is it? The exam, the 300, I forgot what it's called. PL 300 certification exam. Was it hard? Yeah, so those are just some thoughts. I mean, it's like really interesting to try to figure out what it takes now to really get to where you want to go. I think for me, it's a little bit of trial and error, learning this, learning that. And it's not like a single skill set that you really need in finance and accounting anymore. You definitely have to know the software, the experience, of course, the education, of course. I mean, you can't prepare perfectly for like every single type of job in your field. I mean, there's going to be a lot of crossover. Some people are going to want, SAP. Like, I don't want to learn SAP, to be quite honest, after using the interface. I was talking with a buddy of mine who works in the medical field as an analyst, and he was like, man, we were both kind of joking, like, dude, do these things not feel like Windows like 95? I mean, it's just so clunky and old, and like visually, it just like makes you sad, right? So I thought Salesforce is great like that. SAP, from what I saw on that, I was just said, man, I do not know if I could stare at this interface for 8 hours a day. It's just like, so you can tell like my background stuff, like I like color, I like the aesthetics of it. I like some artistic sense to it, which maybe is odd for accounting types, but that's maybe, I don't know, that's just how I am. So, I'll tell you that I'm feeling better now at about the 3 month mark of being out of a job. I should say. It was like, oof, I'm starting to not like this so much, cranking out 20 applications on a single day. I heard, someone told me recently, and a recruiter said, hey, use Indeed. It's really good. I've not used Indeed for, I don't know, like 10 years, but I guess for whatever that's worth. Anyways, you got to figure out what you want to do, but I think this remote work piece is really awesome. And then there was this guy from Real Vision who's been on Tom Bilyeu's channel. I can't remember his name. He has like a sort of Middle Eastern name, I think, but I think his name's Rao or Raul. He was talking about they have offices wherever for their media and finance company. He's like, yeah, as soon as we can get out of those leases, we're definitely getting out of them. Like, we are not going to keep our people, because he said they had 65 employees, I think he said, and he said estimated like 3 or 4 actually going to the office. He lives in, I think he lives in Cayman Islands. I don't know where he lives, but he lived in the Caribbean somewhere, and so obviously he's not going into the office. I mean, he's the founder, so it's usually those guys get to do whatever they want to do. But those are just some of my thoughts about how you're going to spend your time during a layoff or recruitment. There's a psychological piece to it about, oh, this is not good and things are not going as I'd planned. But I also think it gives you that time once you step away from your previous role to say, how was that? Was that good? Was that not good? Did I like the culture? Did I think that there was a clear path to, making better money and kind of getting out of the more, I don't know. It just depends, like what you thought about your 9 to 5 and what your work was like. If it was just kind of okay, not very good, pretty good, maybe. If it's pretty good, then maybe you'd want to stay in that sector and keep doing that and just look for a different company. But if not, maybe you want to add something else. So some people are pushing for going back into the office, but I think a lot of workers are saying, I don't know. And if you have that flexibility, see, that's what's so great about the financial independence part, right? Is if you can get that part, you're not forced into taking positions that you don't really want, right? That you're kind of like halfway excited about and maybe like halfway or a little bit more not excited about. So I think that'll be kind of a wrap for today. How's the unemployment going? Are you feeling the TikTok rants about inflation? And I think my heart really goes out to Canadians, quite honestly. That seems like such a big deal. And the CFA professor that I follow and buy his prep material from, Mark Meldrum, he just left Canada and went to Costa Rica. And because basically, I think he was paying, he says, 54% tax rate, over 50%. I think 54, 52, low 50s, which is a huge chunk, right? And then he thought that there was going to be even more taxes, more restrictions and capital leaving the country, that he needed to get out while he could. He didn't know what kind of things that they were going to do in order to pay for all their social programs and all the immigrants and the government that Trudeau has a very low approval rating. So he got out. I don't know how he's doing. Hopefully, Mark, you're doing great, in Costa Rica. learning Spanish and all that stuff. But it's really interesting, right? If you have the remote ability, you can work from anywhere. I think it's a huge key. It may be a huge key to our freedom in the future for flexibility and jobs that we can say no to because we know we have this desirable skill set and we're good at this other thing and we can do it from a low cost state, a place where housing is affordable. If you live on the coast and they're either jacking up your property taxes or they're jacking up your insurance premiums, I mean, maybe you want to leave, or if they have some kind of mandates or something in some cities, or they're who knows. We saw all the craziness, so I don't have to remind us that much, but there's just some things where it's nice to have that flexibility and not have to quit jobs and start new places. Hey, thanks for joining me on this one. We'll see you next time in Premier Study Investing. If you didn't see our modern portfolio theory tool, go to www.premierstudyinvesting.com. Find the page for portfolio creation course, and at the bottom of that, you can find a download link for a free download for an older model from Q3 2023 that lets you understand at least how modern portfolio theory works, how it integrates with Excel, and how you can basically customize a portfolio that fits your needs based on the expected return that you'd like to get and whatever like sector allocation you'd like to have. Perhaps you'd like to have a 40% exposure to tech, or maybe you're more defensive and you'd like to have 20% in, say, consumer staples, 20% in healthcare, 20% in utilities. You can write those type of rules and then optimize it so that you can get the best sort of like combination of the things that you want plus whatever else is available, and basically not have to guess at a certain portfolio, just randomly picking stuff and then allocating who knows what kind of percentages into each asset, right? It's way cool. So I hope you check it out. It's for free. So enjoy. God bless. We'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks so much. Bye.